This week, we're finishing The Wicked King by Holly Black, otherwise known as This Coming to Jesus Meeting with Orlagh.
Hi readers, I'm Jordan.
And I'm Katie.
And welcome to Not Another Heroine, the book pod where we celebrate the heroines we love
and roast the ones we don't. We'll be your TBR FGMs.
Fairy godmothers.
And find you the best 5-star reads, the spiciest romance, and save you from the overhyped DNFs.
So grab your favorite drink and get cozy. Welcome to Season 3.
Let's talk about Jude and Cardan. I cut you off. I'm so sorry.
If you were going to cut me off, that was the best reason to do so. I don't even know what to say to that because it's perfect.
Yeah. We get this fade to black sex scene immediately.
Well, I mean, you have to work your way like halfway through the book, but where we left off last week was Jude is feeling a certain kind of way about Nicasia because Nicasia could be the bride-to-be for Cardan to prevent war between the sea and the land. And so Jude goes to Cardan's room and she's like, I need you to seduce Nicasia because she's got a thing for you. She tried to kill you. That's how big her thing is. And Cardan's like, what? She tried to fucking kill me? What? And so Jude tries to like educate Cardan, like, use your wiles, like you're charming. Like she's trying to tell him he's charming without outright saying it. And it's not going well. And like, I just imagine Cardan just watching this happen, being like, this is adorable. Tell me more. And they eventually start. Like he kisses her and then things develop and it's kind of all of her stress kind of falling apart and her finally giving in to the feelings that she's had for Cardan. And it's the first kind of confession of feelings we internally have from Jude because she does not confess to Cardan in the moment. She's like, no, we're just going to do this and it's weird and awkward.
I think she even says we're just going to get it out of our system. And it's like, honey,
no.
That has never in the history of the world worked.
No. And also we get this kind of sweet like recognition that Jude is uncertain. And Jude is pretty certain and confident in a lot of things, but she's like, I've never done this before. He's a fairy lord. He has a lot of experience. And she's like, this is weird. Am I doing it right? And like, it was this cute kind of moment of uncertainty on Jude's part. We're like, oh yes, she is human.
I also think that was a very like, it fell in line with her character, but I also think it's important as like Jude as a role model almost for like, you know, teen people like reading this book. Because I would almost say that this is like a YA book, like on the older end of the spectrum, but like having that kind of like set example that you can be super confident in the things that you do, but when you have this like intimate experience, like it's okay to be nervous and like to kind of admit that. I feel like it's a very like good kind of subtle like, it's gonna be okay, bud.
And it's a good scene. It's just one of my complaints for this book is that there's not a lot of romance. We have a lot of interaction between Cardan and Jude, but you just don't get a lot of internal contemplation of like their emotional states, which is what you get in traditional romance. And this is more political intrigue, it's more action, which this is great. Like if you are more of a fantasy reader, I think this series really bridges that romantasy gap as a, hey, like, okay, it's a nice add-on, but I don't need it. This does it very well.
Yeah. I think that was a lot of people's beef in the romantasy subreddit, though, is that people would recommend this book and they're like, well, this isn't really like what I'm looking for. I didn't like it that much because I wanted more romance. And I think it's if you're going into it expecting it's going to be romance heavy, you're going to be disappointed. But if you just come at it as like, this is a good fantasy book with like some romance, you're going to enjoy it a lot more.
And I think the answer to this trilogy, if you want more romance, is The Winter's Curse.
Yeah.
Because equally heavy on world building and plot, but so much more emotions and romance going on. I might reread that one soon. Like
it's about time.
Yeah.
But so question for you, do you think that more romance in this would take away from like what it is? Like the plot, like how the pacing is?
No, I don't think so. I think the book would have to be much longer. That's the only like return I would have, is that we would be looking at probably 400 to 500 pages to really flesh out those emotional scenes between the characters.
Yeah.
But I think it could still stand the way it is. We just need more internal reflection and more chances for Jude and Cardan to interact. Because when you look at some of these romantasy heavy on the romance books, it's a lot of interactions between the two main characters.
Yeah.
We just don't get that here because there's so many other characters.
I have a controversial take. I don't know that if you added in more romance, if it would, like, be the same. Like, I think how it's written and plotted and who the characters are, I think if you added more romance, it would take away from that. Because that's, like, kind of the whole dynamic across all 3 books is this, like, mistrust almost or, like, lack of trust between Cardan and Jude, and they, like, continually keep, like, one-upping each other, and I think that would be more, like, substantial issue if they had, like, a romantic relationship and, like, more interactions in that aspect. That, like, you're, like, close with this person, you have, like, emotional intimacy, and then they, like, betray you, like, at the end of this, like, 2nd book. I think it would hit harder, and it'd be more of a roadblock for them to overcome to, like, have a happy ending.
I don't think it's so I think I need to retract what I would want more of
Mm.
because we have a lot of parts in The Wicked King and in the series in general that skim it, where you're like, "Oh, 5 months happened, and she's been commanding Cardan all
Oh.
this time." And so I think what I would want is that those time periods that are glossed over to be like, "Okay, what I want to see is Cardan commanding or Jude commanding Cardan and them
Mhm.
attending more things, still in the roles that they are, like, even the emotions don't have to be there, but what I would want would be the introspection of the characters themselves examining their own feelings.
Mm. I could see that.
But, I mean, I this is also a masterpiece, and I think it stands alone, like, I don't know that it would make it better, but it might appeal to other readers.
Mhm. I feel like it would appeal to a different genre reader, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because like, I want more romance, but I don't know what that would
What it would look like.
how it, like, shift my perception of the plot and the characters and, like, what they do to each other.
Well, because we get that moment where Jude's like, "Oh, I think I'm in love with him," and, like, "Why am I having these emotions?" But, like, up until that point, you haven't seen any of those emotions from Jude. You haven't seen
Mm.
her feel a certain way towards Cardan because you don't have any scenes between them.
Yeah, that is true. Hmm. Because I would almost be worried that it would turn up like Locke and Taryn's relationship, where they're,
Mhm.
like, constantly doing kind of, like, bad things to each other, but they, like, obviously love each other. So I'd worried that it would skew too much that way, and you're like, "This is a toxic relationship, like, Jude, get out of there."
I don't know.
I know. If anyone could do it, it would be Holly Black, but I feel like that it would be an undertaking.
Yeah, and also, I don't think she writes a lot of romance in general.
I don't think so either. I feel like, did the Tithe series have
No.
interesting.
It's about the
Hmm.
same level where you have glimmers of it, but it's
Mhm.
not like a driving theme.
Yeah, because I feel like I tried Holly Black's other book, the contemporary paranormal one. I
Mm,
didn't like it as much, and
mhm.
I don't know that there was a lot of romance in it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just romance readers masquerading as romantasy readers.
Honestly. With my hockey smut tangent I'm on, that's probably more true than not. But yeah, now we have a wedding. Not
Yeah.
Jude's,
Locke
thankfully.
and Locke and Taryn's wedding,
Mhm.
and they use this wedding as kind of a Oh, no, I'm mentally skipping ahead, readers. I backtrack.
Uh-oh.
Wedding is coming up. Wedding is happening, and Heather, who is Vivian's girlfriend,
Mhm.
mortal girlfriend, they are coming to the wedding, they're bringing Oak, everyone's happy, it's gonna be fine, and Jude goes out to the marketplace.
Oh, this does happen first. Ooh.
Yeah. So she goes out, she's like, "I need to buy a wedding gift." So she goes to the smith,
I forgot his name. Grenwick, Grenwich,
Grenwild, Grenmin
Grenwald,
yeah,
Grimson.
Grimson. So she goes to Grimson and she's like, "Hey, I know you're probably not making anything or selling anything, but I want to buy a wedding gift." So he starts explaining all these things that he has, and he's like, "How about this pair of earrings? It will make her the most beautiful woman in the world. Like, her husband will at least stay faithful for a few years."
Ugh.
And then Tara or Jude is looking at this earrings like, "Oh, he knows that I am insecure in myself to not to want to give these earrings to my sister to make her more beautiful than I am."
Mhm.
And Jude's like, "Okay, I'll take the earrings, it'll be fine." And so she buys the earrings, she goes off, she buys, like a dress or something,
Mhm.
and then a little bit later on, she is returning, I think, from the market. She's on her like, riding a horse home through the woods. It's dark, it's scary, she's alone, something's gonna happen, and sure enough, it does. So she starts to get chased by, like, these masked riders who are, like, galloping around and being menacing, and she's like, it's 6-1, I'm gonna lose. So we kind of have this action-packed scene where
Mhm.
she's attacked and she's kind of defending herself, but unsuccessfully. She manages to injure one of her attackers,
Mhm.
and then they flee.
Mhm.
And
I think she kills someone,
yeah.
and they, like, weren't expecting it, and that's kind of, like, where the, like, threat level, you know I don't know the word I'm looking for. The odds shift in her favor. They're
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit, this was gonna be fun," and she, like, murdered someone, like, "Oh no."
And she has no idea who is after her at all, but she loses the earrings that she just bought,
Mhm.
which is like, "Oh, that sucks," but
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't.
I also love Jude has a moment of, like, shock, sort of, because this whole time, the Court of Shadows has been like, "Girl, like, you need to have some kind of, like, protection while you're out there, like, you
Mhm.
are an important player," but she kind of, like, downplays her own importance in this, like, chess game, and she's like, "No, I'm, like, the background person, I'll be fine, I can only rely on myself," and as soon as they start, like, hunting her, she's like, "Fuck."
Mhm.
But then it's this moment, like, oh shit, like I am in trouble and no one is going to come to save me. Nobody knows I'm out here. I have no weapons. Like I've never needed them before. Like what the fuck am I going to do? It's a very like vulnerable moment for her.
It's the scariest part, I think you feel for Jude, where she's like, "Oh, she's not gonna come out of this unscathed."
Yeah.
And she doesn't.
Nope.
Her leg is, like, very brutally injured,
Yeah.
like, bleeding and all sorts of
She gets like shot by an arrow or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she somehow manages to get home, she bandages herself up. Vivian finds her,
Mhm.
and she's like, Girl, what have you been doing?"
Girl, there is a wedding.
And Jude has to hide from everyone. She doesn't want anyone to know that she's injured or that she's been attacked. And then they go to the wedding. And
Mhm.
in the midst of the wedding, Jude receives a message from the Court of Shadows telling her that she needs to go to the tower forgetting something is going on with Balekin. She
Mhm.
needs to handle it right now.
Mhm.
So she pieces out, and as she's on her way to the tower, she sees that like the guards are drowned in the tower.
Mhm. Oh, you forgot the Heather,
Was
the enchanting that was at the wedding.
Oh, was at the wedding?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I only say that because this is, like, my favorite part. So she's, like, walking to the wedding, I think, through this, like, hedge maze,
Oh,
and she hears,
shit,
like, a
yeah.
cat yowling, and she's like, "What the fuck is that?" She goes to investigate, and it's Heather, the mortal girlfriend. She has cat ears, and all of a sudden, she can't, like, talk. She's, like, turning into a cat, and she's like, "I told you you needed to stay, like, protected." I was, like, mad at Vivi because she didn't take this seriously enough. Like, she didn't we weren't honest with her about how hard it was to be a human in the fairy world, but, like, dude, this shit is really hard, and
Mhm.
obviously it's hard, and so they take her back they find Vivi, they find the family, and they're like, "Hey, who the fuck did this to her?" They get the guy to undo it or whatever, and, like, Heather is, like, having a mental breakdown at this point, like,
I would
reasonably.
yeah, completely.
And so Vivi decides to, like, glamour her, and she's like, "You're fine, you took a tumble, and you started crying, and that's kinda silly, isn't it?" And, like, Heather's like, "Yeah, I guess it was silly, I'm kind of, like, embarrassed," and she forgets about the whole thing. Insane violation of trust, of, like, mental capacity. Gah!
I
Okay.
would've done the same thing.
Wait, and, like, glamored her?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Whoa, what?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Brutal.
Well, if you're weighing what's going on and, like, if you're looking at Heather's own safety and the scale of things, it's
Mhm.
gonna be easier to get her out of there if she
Mm.
is not a trembling mass of panic and fear and, like imagine if she had been left that way, would she have even followed Vivian anywhere? Would she have been able to make it home?
Yeah, because the scene from the first book where the girl,
Mhm.
like
Threw herself off the horse and drowned
yeah,
herself, or
suicide.
maybe not.
Yeah.
I would be wondering if Heather can even make it home.
Yeah. But it's just I felt so angry with Vivi at that point that, like because there's a point earlier where Jude asks Heather, she's like, "Did Vivi kind of explain how things work here?" And she's like, "Oh, like, not really, but it's
Mhm.
it's okay." And Jude's like, "Vivi, you fucking idiot. Like, you have to protect your, like, girlfriend. You can't just, like, bring her here." But then it's like, Vivi didn't take that seriously, and
Well,
then
I think that shows very clearly, like, it's a good way to set Vivian apart and make the reader, like, remind themselves that Vivian is not human
yeah. Mhm.
and that she does not have the capacity to, like, empathize as
Yeah.
much as her human sisters can.
Yeah. I think it also kinda raises the stakes too that you understand just what Jude is, like, trying to do. Like,
Mhm.
she's a human, and these are inhuman, immoral, gray
Mhm.
morals doing whatever the fuck they want, and it's like they could control you at any point and just glamour you, and then you forget everything. Because then Jude gets humbled at this.
Yes. And this is so Jude is already injured, but as she's going through the tower forgetting, right, she got called there by the Court of Shadows, and she gets attacked and betrayed by the ghost, who is a
So
member of the
sad. I
Court of
forgot that this
Shadows.
happened.
Yeah, so that is the first person who is close to her who betrays her. And so she wakes up under the sea, not the Little Mermaid version,
Nope.
and she is breathing water, she's starving, and I don't wanna get into too much detail. This is a very vivid period in the book. I loved this scene. I
Hmm.
thought it was fascinating just to step out into a different world of fairy, and it's the first time we see Jude be super vulnerable and, like, unable to act, but she's trapped, tortured by Orlagh and her daughter and Baelkin, who don't know that Jude is immune to glamours
Mhm.
and enchantments, so they think they can, like, tell her anything and, like, she can be their slave, basically, and so Jude plays along, but she's, like, at her own expense, so she's dying, essentially, and she spends months under the water, and she's like, "I don't know if I can do this much longer, it's fine."
Oh, God.
But Orlagh and Baelkin reveal their grandmaster plan to basically kill Cardan, take over the land. They want to use Jude to murder Cardan.
Mhm.
And so they glamour her and they eventually bring her back up to the surface. And she's like, "It's fine, it's happening. I'm going to escape." And as she's brought to the surface, she's like this wraith of a human. And she sees Cardan in his full king mode sitting on a
Mhm.
horse, and next to him is Madoc. The scene there where she's like, "Oh, that's the love of my life and my scary father. They done fuck some shit up over this."
Oh.
Like, you can feel the fury. She's trying to figure out what command she gave Cardan to make him save her, because she
Mhm.
doesn't believe that he's doing this off his own free will. She's
Yeah.
like, "There's gotta be something that I said that made him rescue me, because why would he give up all of this stuff?" Because she realizes in exchange for her freedom that he agreed to release Baelkin, make him an ambassador to the land
Mhm.
from the sea, and also, like, go to war with the Court of Termites, which is Lord Royben.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that, like, tidbit.
It was not it was like him, Cardan allowing the sea people to attack whoever they wanted without retribution, and the
Mhm.
first people they attack is the Court of Termites,
Yeah.
which is in violation of the agreement that Jude worked out with Lord Royben.
Mhm. Yeah, so he has some things to ask Jude
Uh-huh.
about.
And so she gets piled into a carriage, and Madoc takes her home. She's forbidden from going to the palace on Madoc's orders, not
Mhm.
Cardan's. And she's like, "But I know all of their secret master plans. I have to tell someone about this because shit
Mhm.
is going to hell." Because also they tried to forge a new crown,
Yeah.
what from Grimson,
Mm.
to replace the current crown so they could put it on. Do they want to make Baelkin king or Queen Orlagh?
Yeah, they wanna make Baelkin king and then marry him off to Nicasia. So Oak is also involved in this. They were gonna, like,
Use Oak to put
threaten
the
Oak.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's, like, extra Jude, like.
Yeah, this is like the culmination of, like,
Mhm.
the plot right here, and, ugh, I just love it. I wish we had gotten Cardan's perspective in this moment,
Ooh, yeah, or even, like, a bonus chapter at the end or something.
like him watching her come out of the ocean.
Oh! God, because I think Jude even remarks that neither of them make eye contact with her, and you just know it's one of those, like, he's doing it because he knows you'll, like, break down or, like, show too much emotion, like,
Yeah.
because I think he also has some kind of, like, "No, she's mine," like, "You can't ask for anything," like,
Mhm.
one of those, territorial, protective, "That's
Ugh,
my
it's so
lady."
good. Well, because Queen Orlagh oh, no, that's at the end. Sorry, readers, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oops.
So eventually, after she's recovered a little bit, Jude makes her way. She sneaks into the palace. It takes her a couple tries. She gets to Cardan's room and she's like, "Hey, long time no see.
Bro.
By the way, Orlagh is crazy and
Mhm.
she's trying to take your kingdom."
Yep, but then the ghost or not the ghost, the roach and the bomb show up, and they're like, honey buns,
You're a traitor.
yep, you were trying to assassinate our king," and they, like, turn out her pockets, and she has poison in there, and they're like, "This is not looking good for
Told
you,
you so.
girl." Yep, except she has to reveal that she has an immunity to guises, whatever the
Geese?
geese?
I
Guys?
mm,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Yeah, so which is funny, though, because they tested out Cardan asks her to crawl on the ground to him.
And she's like, "Fuck off, boy."
Yeah.
Like, not
But
happening.
it's a fun, like, throwback to the
Mm.
first book when she
Mhm.
did that.
Oh, before we move on, I wanted to have a shout out because this was a brilliant like piece of writing on Holly Black's part.
Mhm.
When Jude is under the sea and she's trapped and tortured under there, she makes this observation that there's these floating cages all around her and there are humans, like mortal humans in the cages. And like they're not dead, but they're not quite alive either. They're like drowning victims.
Mhm.
So they've just been like living in this weird purgatory state in these cages. And she says, "Oh, well, I wonder if that girl who threw herself off the horse actually died or she trapped here in one of the cages." And I'm like, as a shout out to the first book, like it was so good, like dark, very dark, but
I feel like there might be some kind of, like, deeper message behind that because, like, the girl threw herself off the horse because what she had seen and witnessed and done was, like, so miserable, but now it's like you're trapped in another land of fairy, like, it gets worse,
yeah.
like, ah.
But to have that call out and be structured so well that you can make
Mhm.
that observation and it's just good.
Insane. Yeah.
Well, now we have the grand master plan.
Yeah.
So Madoc and Jude, well, Madoc kind of finds out that Jude has a deal with Garden, right?
Oh, yeah, because so earlier, Jude and Cardan have some kind of like, riposte conversation, but Madoc overhears and he's like, "Oh, I've been wondering what you had over him that like he appointed you his seneschal and you have all of this power all of a sudden." And it's like, that makes sense. And Jude's like, fuck, like he's gonna use this against me. And he has this like parting line where he's like, we will work together to protect Oak and to take over this like Orlagh threat. But once that's done, I'm going to treat you like my true equal, and we are going to be enemies, and we are going to go to war, and one of us is going to win. It's like this brutal, like, you're no longer my daughter. Like, we're equals now. I'm going to
Mhm.
fucking fight you. And it's like, oh no.
Terrifying, but like also kind of cool. What like a
Hmm.
backhanded compliment if you ever heard one.
Yeah.
So Jude knows that Madoc and Carden have been working together in the aftermath of her being like stolen and
Kidnapped.
kidnapped.
Hmm.
And so she doesn't quite know all the intricacies of their thing because Carden in the meantime has also kind of come into himself and he's like
Hmm.
acting very kingly and she's like, I don't know what to do with this Carden.
Yeah. Ah, I'm
But
in danger.
but they do set up this kind of like another party, like a masquerade ball.
Oh, yeah.
And I forget, oh, it's to celebrate Lord Royben, right?
Yeah, because he's come for like, hey, bro, what the fuck?
Yeah. And so it's a masquerade, so she buys a mask and everything, and they set up this like decoy opportunity for Orlagh and Baelkin to kidnap Oak because
Mhm.
Vivi brings him back, and there's a couple like I forget what else Jude is supposed to do in the scene, but they're trying to trigger Orlagh to make a move so they can catch her in the
Oh,
act.
because I think they find out somehow, I think through Cardan, that she's going to attack during this.
Mhm.
And so they set up all of these, like, the first one, they have to climb through a window, and Oak is, like, kind of nervous, and she's like, "No, isn't this fun? We're gonna, like, climb through this window."
Mhm.
Ah.
And then she gets to the masquerade and she realizes that Carden is acting very drunk, which is weird, but like not out of the realm of possibility for him. And then she realizes, oh no, because he kisses her and she's like, that's poison.
Um.
We gotta fix that. So she like calls him out of the room and like Bilkin's like, no, where are you going? Stop right there. And she's like, no.
Because he's like, turn out your pockets. Like, the king has been poisoned. Like, I think it's Jude. And Jude's like, that's a weird thing to say. I'm not going to do that. And he's like, how can you tell?
She blamed me.
What? That's not fair.
Yeah, that's exactly what he says too.
Yeah.
So she hauls him out. She hauls Carden up to a room. She like pours water down his throat, and he's like blabbering, like, "I don't know. I thought you told me to do this." And what she
Oh.
finds out in the moment is that Taryn, like, had dressed up as her and
Mhm.
had come to Carden and said, "Hey, I need you to like release my father from like whatever agreement you booked. Like he no longer serves the crown." And
Mhm.
Carden tells Jude, like, "I thought she was you, and I wanted to show you that I trusted you and that you didn't need to command me." La.
Yeah. Insane. Because it's also crazy because way earlier in the book, there's this, like, throwaway scene where Taryn is in Jude's room, and Jude's like, "How the fuck did you get in here?" And she's like, "Oh, I just, like, went to the master of keys and pretended to be you to get, like, a key to your room." And she's like, "Well, that's kinda crazy, but I guess we do that all the time." And it's like, that was foreshadowing, baby.
Ugh. Yeah, so now we have the second person close to Jude who has betrayed her. So Jude is acting very quickly, though, because she needs to get an antidote, and she's like, Bilkin's gotta have an antidote.
Mhm.
So she gets a note from Bilkin, "Oh, I have an antidote, make a deal with me." So she goes off to Bilkin, she's like, "All right, here's the deal. I'm going to take the same poison that you gave to Carden, and if you have you're gonna give me, the antidote so I can test to make sure it works."
Mhm.
So Bilkin's like, "Okay, this is fine." So she takes the poison, and he comes over and, like, drops the antidote into her mouth, and she, like, pretends to swallow it, doesn't, spits it out into a bottle, hands the bottle to, like, the roach, I
Mhm.
think? Or no, to the
The
bomb.
bomb, yeah.
And so she, like, flits off to give it to Carden, and Bilkin's like, "What is going on right now?"
How are you so powerful?
And then Jude kills him
Yep.
in a duel.
Yep. Because it's interesting too, because they purposely meet out in public and she's like, "See, I got you. You can't act crazy. Like, people know that you're not a prince anymore." And then he's like, he orders everyone to go away. And she's like, "I didn't think that he could do that." But
Mhm.
it's like this interesting, Judah's never seen herself as someone with power. And then she assumes that other people don't act that way. And then she's like continually surprised when it's like, he's a prince. Like, he can tell people what to do and they'll listen. And she's like, that's an option?
Yeah, it's weird, but she wins and she kills him, and,
Mhm.
like, it's kind of anticlimactic
Yeah.
with Belkin's death, but, like, oh, that's one more threat gone.
Mhm.
So she goes back to Carden and, she comes out of it, she gives him the antidote, and he's fine, and I think it's a little bit after that where he's kind of back to normal and sober and not poisoned,
I think so.
where we get the biggest flip the script moment in the
Mhm.
trilogy, which is Carden's like, "Hey, so we need like a truce. I need you to stop commanding me so I can actually be the king and use my magic and use my power.
Mhm.
And in exchange, I will make you the queen of fairy."
Mhm. Because also there's, like, this whole, like, trust dynamic. Because I think he even says, like, "We have proven that we are incredible together as a team, but you need to be able to make your own decisions without me having to say it, and you have to control me. So, like, release me from our agreement, and we can trust each other, and we can, like, do some crazy shit, and you'll be queen, and it'll be awesome,
You
won't
can
it?"
have your own power.
Uh-huh.
And like, it's so out of character for Jude to be like, "Yeah, let's trust him this one time. Let's do it." But this is where you see Jude at her breaking point where she just cannot function anymore. She can't make decisions. She's like, I don't know what else to do.
Mhm.
And you see that she loves Carden enough to be like, "All right." So they have like a private wedding ceremony where they just exchange vows, and he pulls out a ring, and you're like, "Ooh, that's Carden planning ahead."
Ah.
And
'Cause it's also kind of like an ultimate moment of trust for Jude that, like, she chose, very distinctly to not really trust anyone, and it's kind of blown up in her face again and again, and she's like, "Okay, like, let me try something new."
mhm.
And then
And then, well, she gets to enjoy being queen for a very short amount of time.
like, 35 minutes.
And then Orlag is on the beach and she's like, "We gotta meet up now." And
Mhm.
she's furious. She has summoned all of the merfolk, all of the seals are like waiting there. And so everyone they have this come to Jesus meeting with Orlag and
Sorry. I mean, yes.
I mean, it's pretty much what it is. And Carden is like, "All right, so this is cute. You're the queen of the sea. I'm the king of the land. What do you think the sea rests on?" And so he does this demonstration of power, which is he summons the ground, the ocean floor, and creates a new island.
Mhm.
And then meanwhile, he has Nicosia kind of attached to a tree, and then he makes the tree grow around her so she is fixed to land.
Mhm.
And then he turns to Orlag and he says, "All right, you see your daughter, like she can't move. Do you want to drown her? Do you want to pull the oceans up now?"
Mhm.
And Orlag is immediately defeated in the moment.
Yeah.
And Carden's like, "All right, good time. Think we're done here." And Orlag says, "Well, what are you going to do about my ambassador who was murdered? Like she murdered my ambassador, Jude did." And Carden's like, "Well, how about we just exile her? How about we just do that? She can go off to the mortal land."
Yep.
And Jude's like, "Excuse me?"
'Cause, oh god, it's so fucking heartbreaking. She's like, "But I'm the queen of fairy," and everyone starts laughing. Like,
Yeah.
that hurt my soul
And
because it's like she is, but nobody's gonna believe her.
and Carden says nothing because he can't lie. And
Mhm.
he just kind of smirks at her and he's like, "Have a good time." And his phrasing on her exile is like, "Unless or until you are like released from your banishment."
Yeah. Ooh.
And that's the end.
Yeah. Crazy. That's such a crazy good cliffhanger. Like, going into book 3, she hit her, you know, rock bottom. Where is she gonna come from this? Whew.
It's
Lord.
it's crazy.
Because we also get, like, a little half scene at the end where she's,
Like
like,
eating
watching
fish
TV.
sticks,
Yeah.
eating cartoons, like, "Oh, this is weird, and I don't wanna be here."
Yeah. But it's so sad. She's just like, "I tried playing the game and I lost."
What an apt title, though, The Wicked King. The next book is The Queen of Nothing. Like,
Yeah.
ugh, just
Beautiful.
brilliant.
Mhm.
I have nothing else to say because what do you say to this kind of ending?
Nothing. I have
No.
no idea. God, there was that one book club question that we've, like, kind of touched on throughout, but not really, but why do you think Jude is so against, like, trusting Cardan and, like, expressing that she does like him?
Oof.
I know, right?
I think because Jude has grown up in Fairy and
Mm.
she was raised by her parents' murderer.
Mhm.
So I don't think, she wants to be in Fairy, she wants to be here, but maybe she doesn't trust anything that she wants. She doesn't trust her own emotions.
Mm.
So while she may feel one thing, she doesn't understand the validity of it or its like basis.
Mhm.
So she's like, I can't say anything because I don't know if this is me or if I've been so manipulated by the world I'm living in.
Yeah. 'Cause I feel like it's kind of probably that at, like, the majority, but there's also this underlying not vilification, but she kind of looks down on Taryn and also this stepmom,
Oh, that's a good point.
Oriana. Yeah, how she's like, "Oh, they have their pretty dresses," and, like, Taryn just wanted her happy ending and to, like, marry off a fairy prince and, like, have kids, and that was her
Jude is
dream.
the anti-girl. So
Uh-huh.
she associates yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, but she, like, takes it too far where she's, like, denying her own feelings because she, like, equates that to, like, "I wanna be powerful, I don't wanna be in love." It's like,
Well,
"Honey."
and then also her experience in the first book with Locke, she was completely betrayed. So
Mm.
maybe it's that too, where she allowed
Yeah.
herself to feel something for someone,
Mhm.
only to have not only the dude betray her, but her sister as well.
Yeah. But then she just got turned around and betrayed by Cardan, so she's kinda like, "Well, would you look at that? I trusted someone and I got again." Wow. There's so much I love. Holly Black, you are an incredible person.
Just the writing. I was so excited. Okay, so side story. When I was in New York, I went to the Strand, which is the huge bookstore, like 3 levels, different rooms, amazing,
Woo.
used and new books. It's equivalent to Powell's in Portland,
Mm.
but I was on a mission to find a copy of Tithe
Oh, yeah.
because I have the hard copies for this trilogy, but, like, Tithe was the very first Holly Black book I read, and I
Mhm.
want it, and I don't know what happened to my original copy, and so I looked everywhere, and I could not find it, and I found a copy of
Oh!
Tithe. So
Yo!
and it's the only one they had.
Wow, because that was published, like, a long time ago.
Yeah, they republished it with the same style
Oh,
in
cover.
here,
Mhm.
but, yeah, so I'll be reading Tithe
Dang.
next, I
Oh, that's
think.
exciting.
That's Kay and Reuben's story.
Mhm. Oh, because that was a pick of the week a bit
Mhm.
ago. Yeah. Oh, God.
Good stuff.
I forgot completely what happens in the 3rd book.
I have not finished the 3rd book.
Oh, man.
So yeah, I guess readers, this is a reread for both of us, but I
Mhm.
started The Queen of Nothing last fall and I like stopped halfway through.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I was just not in the right mindset to finish it or not,
Mhm.
but
The only thing I remember is the very end, and I remember being, like, flabbergasted.
oh no.
Like, it's a good ending. Like a, "Oh, shit. Hell yeah, bro."
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I do remember that. I don't remember anything else about the plot, how, like, things culminate.
That's a good thing though.
Mhm.
It'll be a fun episode.
Mhm. Well, from our shelf to yours, I
Yes.
sorry.
We've been talking a while. We'll see you on the next page.
Hi, readers. Like what you've been hearing? Check out the Spice Archive at notanotherheroine.com to see all of our reviews and ratings. And if you'd like to support our growing library, find us on Patreon and get access to exclusive bonus content.
If you'd like to just listen, we post new episodes every Monday and Wednesday on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Thanks for listening.